Here at DePaul, the issue of sexual assault led to protests, panel discussions, and meetings on campus last spring, but the controversy still continues. Good Day DePaul's Maggie Gallagher has an update.
On many college campuses, the nature of sexual assault can be blurred by the relationship of the parties involved or the presence of alcohol.
My scenarios are the ones where it's very tricky to define it. You know, it's it wasn't done by a stranger. I wasn't attacked in an alley. It happened by one of my good friends at the time, and then it also happened while I was drinking with some of my best friends.
California recently passed the Yes Means Yes bill, saying there must be affirmative, conscious, and voluntary agreement to engage in sexual activity. All state-funded colleges and universities in California must have a policy in place against sexual assault and violence. If they don't, the state can withhold the university's financial aid. At DePaul, a new policy was drafted and put in place over the summer after students spoke out about a lack of awareness on campus. Last spring, some DePaul students protested the school's handling of sexual assault cases. They held silent protests and the Take Back the Night march.
Whatever we wear, wherever we go, yes means yes and no means no.
The Dean of Students' office held a panel to discuss the issue, with many students attending and protesting. All this led to a new sexual assault policy at DePaul.
It's called the Sexual and Relationship Violence Prevention and Response Policy. So it includes sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, stalking, all under one.
The policy took effect in July and incorporates student involvement.
For the creation of the new policy, we created the Campus Save Act working group. So now that the term has been changed to Sexual and Relationship Violence Prevention and Response Working Group, which includes staff and faculty and now includes 2 students as well. So that's one of the big ways we're trying to make sure student voices are heard and students know exactly what we're doing.
DePaul Women's and Gender Studies professor Dr. Anne Rousseau says a change in policy is a starting point, but feels it won't be enough to create a new culture where survivors will feel safe coming forward to report sexual assaults.
If we said we embrace and care for rape survivors, I don't see that in the policy. We really care about what happened to you. We will do everything in our power to create a better environment at DePaul. So if it does happen, that you will be embraced, that you will be supported, that you will not be villainized, that you will not be blamed. And that if you've been accused of sexual assault, that you will have resources to be accountable for what you did, to find a path for change.
President Obama is also pushing for colleges to take stronger action against sexual assault. The White House released a public service announcement focusing on prevention and calling for an end to the practice of claiming sexual assault victims are somehow responsible for what happens to them.
To not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
Cassie Vaughn, a sexual assault survivor, says programs on prevention and consent were not stressed during her time as an undergrad at DePaul.
I never had a presentation to my sorority. I never had a presentation to when I was in the dorms, and I think both could have affected, I don't want to say could have affected me, but they could have definitely brought it to the limelight.
So the gap is that we do have a lot of programs and processes and policies in place, but students are not necessarily aware of that. And that's our fault, that we need to get that information out, and we totally see that it's our responsibility as a part of this university to make sure that students, staff and faculty know exactly what kind of programming is happening, how we support survivors, what the student conduct process is.
The Dean of Students' office is working on a new awareness campaign, Take Care DePaul. It focuses on programs like bystander intervention, where people who see a sexual assault are urged to try and prevent it. Take Care DePaul also includes a more detailed freshman orientation on sexual assault and a parent's orientation that encourages them to talk to their children about consent.
You know, there's always something you could have done there. I wish people would have done more. But how I'm coping with that is just to know that if I ever am in that situation, I'm gonna just not care what they say. And just, if they're mad at me for that one night, I'd rather have one night of anger than an eternity of knowing I could have done something more.
For Good Day DePaul, I'm Maggie Gallagher.